£2.7 million in additional sales is what we were able to generate for a client of ours in just 90 days by fixing their Facebook ads. In this video, I'm going to show you how we did it. Okay, so let's run through this case study video, a format that is backed by popular demand. I can show you a real world example of massive improvements that have been made to this business's Facebook ads and the results that came with that. So let's start by going through a little bit of context so you understand a little bit more about this business, this client of ours. So an e-commerce business operating in quite a specific niche, the puzzle notebook niche. Some interesting things about that industry. So average order value, AOV, is pretty low. For this business, UK-based business, it was £27. That's actually reasonably high for that industry because you think, well, how much are you going to spend on puzzle notebook type products? This business had done a good job of increasing their average order value from about £20. So they'd actually done that quite well, even though that's relatively low in comparison to other businesses. But the products are high margin. They don't cost much to print, to produce. So even though the AOV is low, the margin is high. Now, those dynamics do introduce some difficult circumstances and things you need to be aware about when running ads for a business like this, right? So, okay, the AOV is low, which means our cost per purchase needs to be really quite low. Our ROAS doesn't need to be really high because they're high margin. So just things to understand before we go through the process. So, that's another really important thing about this business that was almost forgot to mention, was that the vast majority of their sales are generated in Q4. So people are buying these typically as Christmas presents for other people, stocking fillers, things like that. So yes, they generate sales all year round, but their real most popular time, something like 60 to 70% of all sales are generated in Q4 in those 3 months leading up to the end of the year. What I'm going to do in this video is compare their results Q4 2023, before we started working with them, before we implemented the changes that I'll describe, and then what their results were like Q4 2024, so the Q4 that the most recent one that just finished, and you can see the enormous difference in results and also explain what we did to get those enormous differences, okay? So Q4 2023, revenue was just under £1 million, £979,000. Meta ad spend was just under £500,000, 499,000, generating a ROAS of 1.95x. So pretty low return on ad spend. The average cost per purchase was £14.12. They sold 35,000 units, so really shifting some product already. You'll see what it gets to in Q4 2024. So this is one of those scenarios where, because they're high margin, I think break even for this business was about a 1.4, 1.5x ROAS. So 1.95 is profitable. And so you can't say that Q4 2023 was a failure, but it wasn't massively so. It wasn't really, really exciting. Actually, interesting side note about this business, they had considered hiring us to run their ads for them during Q4 2023, but thought that we'd had a meeting with them, but they thought, yeah, we're not quite ready. They thought they weren't ready. They wanted to manage it themselves. So they ran their own ads for Q4 2023. They then decided to hire us for Q4 2024, hence all the information I've got for this video and what I can talk about. And that decision to wait the extra year cost them literally millions of pounds because we were able to improve their campaigns that much and scale, and you'll see all of that later on. But yeah, we did not run ads during Q4 2023 for them. They didn't think they were quite ready, even though they were. And this is the results that they got. Okay, but nothing special. Target cost per purchase. So you can see their cost per purchase during Q4 2023 was £14.12. Their target was £12. And this company really felt like, look, if we can just get a sub £12 cost per purchase, we'd be able to scale significantly, because that would be not just profitable, but profitable enough to be able to then absorb some extra costs. As you scale, things naturally get added in on the cost front. Any business has been through a scaling process knows you have more people that don't necessarily drive direct sales, and costs add up. So you need nice, healthy margins in order to scale, typically. Like I said, Q4 2023 performed okay. We felt we could do much better. We looked at what they were doing. Even though they have a relatively low average order value, they had shown that they could sell loads of product. They had achieved quite a low cost of purchase. We felt we could get that much, much lower, and we were brought in to run their ads Q4 2024. So before we started working with them, we did an ad account audit like we do with all our new clients, and we identified that there were some things that they hadn't done in an ideal way that we thought we could improve on. One of the reasons why we were confident we could help improve their results. One of those were campaign structure issues. There were definitely those within the ad account we felt we could restructure the campaigns, restructure the ad account, and that would help improve things. The other one was there was definitely a lack of creative testing going on, and we felt that if we implemented that, we would find winners and produce much better results. So we'll dive into that detail around those two in a second. Most of their meta ads for Q4 2023 before we started working with them were image-based. We felt like there was a massive opportunity for video. There was. I'll talk about that more in a second. But let's go through the campaign structure part first in a little bit more detail, okay? So their ad account before we started working with them had way too many campaigns. And this is actually something that we are seeing more and more of. Often business owners that are running their own ad campaigns, they'll want to test everything. They'll watch tons of my YouTube videos, for example, and hear about this and that, and they basically try and do a bit of everything. And what that can lead to is budget being spread really thinly across lots of different campaigns, and Meta's not able to optimize properly. It's difficult for you as the advertiser in that scenario to work out really what's producing the best results and to be able to zero in on that. So one of the things we like to do is, right, let's take all of that, let's consolidate the campaigns, let's make sure that a lot more budget, a larger percentage of the budget is being put behind the best performing elements. And it's one of the ways we can often generate a really quick and substantial win early on when we work with a client like this. So we consolidated their campaigns into just a testing campaign and a scaling campaign. Now their products, whilst there's a range of puzzle notebooks, they are very much of a same type. And I've talked before about wanting different campaigns for different product ranges as opposed to individual products most of the time. We don't always do that, but most of the time. So we thought, you know what, we can really consolidate this. Because this business has low cost per purchase, they sell a high volume. That's amazing in terms of generating a lot of data for Meta to be able to optimize. But that doesn't happen if you've got 50 different campaigns running. I can't remember the exact number. It probably wasn't that many, but lots of different campaigns running and budget is spread really thinly. So we're like, right, we're gonna have a testing campaign and we're gonna have a scaling campaign for this type of business. Oh, and also one of the reasons why we're able to consolidate with a business like this is because we need a one-step sales funnel. If your average order value is, say, £27, you can't afford to pay for multiple steps. We can't advertise a lead magnet and then retarget, because each one of those steps you need to pay for from an advertising standpoint. That's just not going to work with a £27 AOV. And it also doesn't need to. You don't need those extra steps because you don't really need to warm people up. This is an impulse purchase for most people. They're buying it for someone else as a Christmas present, for example. They just quickly go, oh yeah, that looks great. I'll grab that in the mix of things I might be buying someone for a present, or that's perfect for my dad or whatever, I'm going to go ahead and grab one of those. That's his present taken care of. So you can't have a multi-step sales funnel. Also allowed us to consolidate the campaign structure that much more, and also just stop doing a bunch of things that they were doing. Stop running awareness campaigns or traffic campaigns and extra stuff that was in the mix that wasn't really driving return on ad spend. So new structure, testing campaign, scaling campaign, allowed to consolidate budget. It also then allows for a lot more creative testing. Not only can Meta optimize better, we can optimize better, but if you are generating many more conversions per creative within those consolidated campaigns, you find out much faster whether an ad works or not. Because everyone always asks me, how long after I launch an ad do I need to wait before I know if it's performing well or not? And my response is, it's not time, it's conversion volume that you need to look out for. Because if you generate 3 conversions a week, it's going to take a long time for you to get enough conversions to be able to see an accurate representation of what that cost per conversion will be for you to be able to make a decision on that. Whereas if you're generating 2,000 sales a day, and we've worked on campaigns like that, you might know if an ad's working within a few hours because it's already generated 45 purchases. What's the cost per purchase? That's a pretty good sample size. This is pretty representative of how this ad will perform. Is it working? Yes. Is it not? No. Great. Go ahead and turn it off. So it allows for much more creative testing, which was the other thing that we really needed to implement in this ad account. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the creative strategy. So like I said, I had a slide talking about mostly relying on image ads as the type of ad format that was used to sell these products. And that makes sense with low average order value products, inexpensive products, impulse purchases. We often say that simple ad formats work the best. So I totally understand why they'd settled on image. They had tested videos previously, but found them ineffective. And I hear that story quite a lot. And one of the things that people often do is they'll create a few video ads, they will test them, they won't do as well as their image ads, and they'll go, right, video ads don't work, I'll go back. And it's not often what people want to hear, but the proper advice that I need to give in this scenario is maybe your video ads just weren't good enough. I wouldn't write off video as an ad format just because the sample test that you ran with a couple of videos didn't do well. Like, how good are you at making video? This is a really difficult thing to do if you've not done it before to get it right. So think about that when you're thinking about any form of testing is, did I test that properly? Or did I just kind of think, oh, it's something I should do, right? Quick little video, let's maybe let Meta animate an image. There we go, video tested. It's like, well, what would happen if you really produce some fantastic video creative? Would the test results be quite different? Turns out they were. So we felt very strongly that for this type of business, UGC video ads were going to work well. We've worked with 3,000 plus businesses worldwide. We've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on Facebook and Instagram ads. Like, we have all the data and internal knowledge to know this type of business wants this type of ad. So we felt like UGC video ads would do really well, and they absolutely did. I'll explain more about that in a second. They performed brilliantly. UGC, by the way, if you're not familiar, is user-generated content. You will have seen ads like this where someone is effectively creating a video. It could be a previous customer, could be someone that you've specifically hired to do it, like you send them some product, they use it, talk about their great experiences with the product. That's what we did in this scenario. And they could be great for UGC videos feel more like content as opposed to an ad. When someone's scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, UGC ad pops up and the person's more feels like they're getting a recommendation from someone like them, as opposed to anything that's overly produced and a full ad. Now, there are places for highly produced ads that look fantastic, and I want to make that clear. But for this type of business, we felt UGC would work really well because they are great for impulse purchases. That sort of like honest, trustworthy feel. Someone you've met has just provided a recommendation around a product. Oh yeah, I've got one of those and they're fantastic. You know, you bump into someone at an airport and they really like your shoes or your bag or whatever, and they ask you, okay, what do you think? How do you get on with that? And they give you an answer. It's that kind of feel, UGC ads. So great for impulse purchases, which is exactly what these products are. And we also added carousels into the mix. So because we could see that it was very common, these are puzzle notebook type products, right? So what people would do is they would come through and they'd rarely purchase one. That's how you get an AOV of £27. They'd purchase like a range, a number of different options. So if your business is like that, where it's very common for multiple similar products to be bought together, carousels can work great because people can see, well, I'm not really interested in that one, but that one looks good. I really like doing those. I'll grab that. Oh, I can see there's some other options they can click through. And also, we found that carousels for business like that can help increase your average order value, because instead of just being advertised the one product and people click through and buy, at the ad level, they're already aware there are other products here I might be interested in. So when they click through, they might still add to cart that first product, but because of that previous exposure to the other ones, they then go, okay, where are the other, right, I'll shop around. I saw something else on that carousel that I like the look of. So that was beneficial too. So the carousel ads, if you've got image ads that have performed well previously, carousels are often really easy to create in terms of what to do. You just go ahead and grab a load of your best performing previous images and stick those in there alongside each other as carousels offering different products. Worked really well. And no matter which Facebook ad creative strategy you're using, you need to have accurate data. You need to be able to properly track your results so you can make informed decisions and optimize your campaigns properly. The best way to do that is with Hyros. Hyros is the best tracking and attribution software for Facebook and Instagram ads. It's a software that all the big players, including myself, use. I use it to track the results that I generate from my own ads. I also use it for all my organic content as well, which is really useful. So if someone comes through and books a call for our done for you services, for example, I can see exactly where they came from with a lot of accuracy, and that allows me to make decisions in my business, which is really, really helpful. And let me quickly show you how important this is. So I'm in my Hyros dashboard. I've isolated one of our meta ad campaigns and I've created a report for it so we can see the data and you can take a look at this. So this campaign spent just under £2,000, generated £15,000 in revenue. But here's the really important bit: reported versus revenue. And in this column, we can see £12,000. Now what that means is that out of the £15,000 that this campaign has actually generated, Hyros has been able to report on the full 15,000, £12,000 of which Meta was not originally able to see. So if we're just looking within our Meta ad account, not using Hyros, we would have seen that £3,000 of revenue was generated from this campaign, and that is not true at all. That is a much, much lower ROAS number than the actual £15,000 of revenue that was generated. For a number of years now, Meta's ad tracking capabilities have not been as accurate as they once were because all sorts of privacy regulations have come into effect, and it's only heading that way. It's only becoming more and more difficult to get accurate data and track our results as we need to be able to do. This is a relatively extreme case, and the reason why is because Meta has a 7-day maximum attribution window. And this is an ad campaign that's retargeting for one of our services that people usually take a lot longer than 7 days to make a decision on. So if someone clicks on an ad, they often won't convert within 7 days. Meta's simply not able to see that data, and that's where Hyros comes in. The important thing is that you need accurate data, and Hyros takes care of that. So if you want to get better results from your Facebook ads without actually having to touch your ads, go ahead and sign up to Hyros. There is a link in the video description. One thing to note, and I think this is something that Facebook advertisers who get into a testing mindset, which is a good mindset to have, run into as an issue, is different people respond to different ad creative. So often when we're testing different ad formats, we're trying to work out which ad format produces the best results. And often the answer to that is, well, actually a mixture of the two. So in this scenario, we still had some image ads running. The majority of the budget was being spent on the video UGC ads, user-generated content ads, and then we had some money going on carousels. And I was really happy with that mix because some people are far more likely to engage with video, others are far more likely to engage with carousels. And if you're trying to scale and sell lots of product, as we did here, then you want to put different types of creative in front of different types of people. And Meta's smart enough to work that out. They will know this user responds to carousels more, images, videos, etc. So an ad creative format mix, like I said, could work really well. And we knew UGC video ads, like I already mentioned, were going to perform really well for this business. But we have that massive internal knowledge because of the experience and the money that we've spent and the literally 3,000 plus clients all over the world, every type of business you can think of virtually at this point. But if you're not in that scenario, which I imagine just about everyone watching this video will not be in that scenario, then you need to test different video ad styles. It's not good enough to just say, I've tested video ads. Well, what type? Did you test different styles? To help you do that, I'm going to run through some examples of different video ads because I've talked about UGC. I just want to make this as helpful as possible. So UGC, user-generated content, I've already mentioned and explained what that is. Influencer. Now, a lot of people confuse these two, but user-generated content is a regular person. It's a previous customer, previous client. It could be someone that, it could be like an actor that you send product to, that they then use it and talk about it. It's just someone that's comfortable on camera. People can do that with UGC type stuff. Influencers are different because that's someone who has an audience, has a following. And that would be someone like me, for example. So I have sponsors on my videos. I do influencer type stuff for brands, typically software brands, because they want me to make a recommendation around their product, their service, their software to my audience. Now, influencer video ads are often more powerful than UGC because that person has influence, but they're more difficult to do. It's more difficult to get someone who is an influencer to create video ads for you. It's probably going to cost some money. It's a more valuable thing. There's more people going after it. Therefore, there's more difficulties in achieving that sort of thing, but can be really, really powerful. I'm a huge fan of using influencers in your video ads, get them to create your video ads for you, particularly if you're not very good at it. You don't have that skill set in-house. Influencers can work really well. And actually, I've created a video on the new creator marketplace. I'll include a link in the video description that's going to make it much easier for you to find influencers should you want to do that. Anyway, moving on. Founder-led, pretty self-explanatory, explaining why you created the business, what the product or service does, that sort of thing. Demonstration. So some video ads just demonstrate how the product or service works. And particularly if you've created something new, some people don't really understand, or there's like a new take on something, a technological improvement, this can be a great way to go, demonstration. Slideshow, take a bunch of images, let Meta put them all into a slideshow, or do it yourself, or do it with another AI tool, and then full on animation. Not something that many businesses do, but can work really, really well. And it stands out quite a lot because not many businesses do it. So just some ideas there. We're thinking, okay, yeah, I tested founder-led video ads, but I've not done any of those other ones. And there are other types, but these are the ones we use most commonly. I could go ahead and give some of those other ones a go. Not easy to do, but the potential rewards are massive. We also significantly increased the volume of creative testing for this business to overcome ad fatigue. So the goal of this business was get the cost per purchase beneath £12, then we want to scale. Now, when you're doing that to a reasonably small audience, these products are advertised UK-wide. I mean, it's not as big as, say, US or like large international markets, but like a decent sized audience still. But we're doing it in quite a condensed time period. Like most of this, we're comparing here directly Q4. Most of their sales are in Q4. So you need lots of creative variation and new creative to overcome ad fatigue. Otherwise, you might have a campaign that performs really, really well and then drops off quite aggressively because the people, if you've got a small audience, the people that have seen your ads have either decided they like it or not, and they've made a decision, right? So like I said, especially important when spending a large budget in a short period of time. Anyway, it's time for the results, the part that people are typically most interested in, that we've all been waiting for. So this is now the results for Q4 2024, the last Q4, the one we ran ads for this business for, and we'll compare those to Q4 2023. I should also quickly mention that the average cost of Facebook ads, usually measured in CPMs, cost per 1,000 impressions, was up about 20% Q4 2024 in comparison to Q4 2023. One of the largest price increases that we've seen. So that should be factored in, that these results are actually even more impressive than they look because the overall cost of Facebook advertising increased during that time period. So let's go and have a look. Revenue generated Q4 2024, £3.69 million. Now, if you remember, the previous one for Q4 2023 was £974,000. An enormous increase, a £2.7 million increase in revenue during the same quarterly period, 1 year to the next. That's why I said this company really missed out on millions of pounds by deciding to wait that extra year to hire us. Okay, their ROAS was 4.68, which for high margin products is absolutely fantastic, especially when you consider that their previous ROAS in Q4 2023 was 1.95x. We've more than doubled their return on ad spend and scaled at the same time. Very difficult to do. It shows that the new campaign structure massively improved results, and that the new ads, particularly UGC video ads, we tested a whole bunch, massively improved their results. So their new cost per purchase for Q4 2024 dropped all the way to £5.91, an enormous decrease because their previous cost per purchase was £14.12. So more than halved their cost per purchase, and that led to basically the massive improvement in these results, or a large part of it. Their AOV, their average order value, remained pretty much the same. It's about £27 between the Q4s in the two different years. Now remember, their target was £12. If we can get below £12, then we can really scale this campaign. Well, we absolutely blew that out of the water, smashed that, went to less than half of the target cost per purchase. And this is over the entire quarter, by the way. This isn't like cherry picked the very best bit. Okay. Units sold in Q4 2024 was 133,000. That's a lot of puzzle notebooks sold, which is fantastic. In the previous year, it was 35,000. So almost 100,000 extra units sold when comparing the two Q4s. Meta ad spend during this quarter that we managed was 788,000, up from 499,000. So we've had this £2.7 million increase in sales, like more than a tripling of sales. But we haven't even spent double. So we've spent an extra £288,000. So about 55% increase in spend for a 300+% increase in revenue. Now, you might be thinking, if these results were so fantastic, why did you only increase the amount spent by 288,000? And that is a very obvious question to ask. We would have scaled a lot more. The client ran out of all stock of their bestsellers, which is not surprising, really. When you sell an extra 100,000 units in Q4 2024 versus Q4 2023, they didn't have that much stock. So they completely ran out of stock. We really had to scale back campaigns, turn some stuff off that were advertising a lot of their bestsellers, and we would have been able to sell more. We think we might have been able to get over £5 million had like stock levels remained like perfectly high across the board. But what a good problem to have, eh? when your campaigns could have been a lot better, but you simply ran out of stock. It actually happens with clients more often than you'd think, which is great. But it means we're all very excited for Q4 2025 because this client is absolutely on board. They're super pleased, very excited with what we did. We're running ads for them all year, but Q4 2025 is their big time of year. That's when we're spending the most, generating the most customers, and they're going to make sure they've got plenty of stock in so we can absolutely go ahead and smash it. Okay, and that leads me on to my next question is, would you like us to manage your Facebook and Instagram ads for you and likely get you much better results? So just quickly explain how we can help. So Heath Media, name of my specialist Meta and Google Ads agency. We've spent more than $150 million on ad campaigns for clients. Very experienced, very much know what we're doing. Like I said, worked with more than 3,000 clients in countries all over the world. And actually that 150 million is a very conservative estimate. The platforms don't show you too far into the past. We can only see like a few years worth of ad spend data. It's likely much, much more than that. We're spending close to 10 million a month at the moment. So yeah, all the experience in the world. And from that ad spend, we generated at least 600 million in sales for our clients. Probably that number is a lot higher we sort of give a conservative 4x ROAS estimate across the board. So if that sounds interesting, you'd like us to manage this for you, take that workload off your hands, or take it from another agency if they're not producing as good a results, if you would like, there is a link in the video description. You can book in a free call with one of my team members. They'll let you know about how we can help. No obligation, of course. You can just find out more. We've probably worked with a business just like yours in the past. So yeah, if that sounds interesting, go ahead and do that. Hopefully we get a chance to work together. Now, we do have a 5K minimum budget requirement for this service. Now, I should quickly mention that is in dollars. We work with clients all over the world. So if you're in the UK thinking, well, I've got 4K a month, well, technically you still qualify, but just wanted to quickly let you know about that. And if you don't have 5K per month, if you operate with a budget less than that, which I know a lot of my audience do for now, we have an alternative option where we can help, and that is my mentorship program. So in my mentorship program, we have exclusive course material, things you won't find on YouTube or anywhere else, explaining how we do what we do. We do daily live calls with me and my team. We do trainings, Q&As, lots of interactive live support to help you get the best shots possible, show you exactly what you need to do. You can ask any questions that you've got around your campaigns or even your business, to be perfectly honest. That's how a lot of these calls often go. We try and give business advice where we feel it's appropriate too. Unlimited one-to-one support. So you get assigned with a one-to-one coach, and you can message them through Slack as much as you want, and they'll get back to you and answer your questions, make sure you're on the right path, help you out with things like that. Amazing community in the mentorship program, more than 800 business owners just like you. So yeah, opportunity to connect with other similar businesses and all that sort of stuff as well, which is handy. Again, link is in the video description should you be interested in that option. And lastly, if you found this video valuable, you'd like me to make more of this case study style where I give you real world examples, then subscribe and simply let me know in the comments. I look at all the comments and I will definitely take that feedback on board. See you soon.